Now Israel has bombed Beirut, leaving at least 6 people dead. The question is now, what will Iran do next? Joining me now is Scott Lucas, professor at the Clinton Institute, University College Dublin. The big question now is, what do you think Iran may do next, or even America?
It's a great question after the Iranian missile attacks on Israel. My concern is not really with a direct confrontation between Israel and Iran. The reason why I say that is that even though you had 181 Iranian missiles in this attack, the second one this year by Iran upon Israel, they followed certain lines to limit it. Uh, 24 hours before the attack, they notified Arab countries that it was going to take place. And of course, the Arab countries went and told the United States. The United States told Israel. The US was tracking the Iranian launch sites. The Israelis, no doubt, were doing it as well. And that's why when the Iranian missiles came in, it was very dramatic. We saw missiles that were landing on the ground. But in fact, the missiles that were getting through were largely the ones that air defenses thought would not strike populated areas. So the outcome of that massive attack is that only two Israeli were sorry. The outcome of that attack is that only two Israelis were injured, minor injuries. The one fatality was a Palestinian in the West Bank who got hit by falling debris. So the Iranian regime, uh, which is having to respond for its own domestic audience as well as for the region against a series of Israeli assassinations, culminating in the killing of Hezbollah's leader, including Hassan Nasrallah. They had their demonstration, they thumped their chest, they can say they stood tough, but now they step back because for the Iranian leadership, they have serious economic problems. They have had protests, nationwide protests, including the Women Life Freedom protest. They are outgunned by Israel. They don't really want a direct war. And I think most of the Israeli leadership does not as well, beyond Benjamin Netanyahu. So my concern is not Israel versus Iran. My concern is actually the ongoing Israeli operations, deadly operations in Gaza. And as I speak to you, another 60 people in Gaza were killed yesterday, including strikes on an orphanage, on a school that were being used for shelters, including 12 children that were killed in a single Israeli airstrike, and the expansion of what is now Benjamin Netanyahu's war in Lebanon. Because we're talking not only about the assassination of Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, we're not only talking about ongoing Israeli airstrikes, killing more Lebanese civilians, we're talking about Israel ground operations into southern Lebanon. Here's the irony: that Iranian attack on Israel, its biggest effect was not that we're on the path to a direct Iran Israel war. The biggest winner out of that Iranian attack was Benjamin Netanyahu, because it gives him the breathing space to continue and even expand the attacks in Gaza and Lebanon. And just one thing to add to that, because that's a very provocative statement. If I'd spoken to you a few weeks ago, hundreds of thousands of Israelis on the streets who were protesting that more than 100 hostages, dead or alive, held by Hamas, are not being brought back home. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis demanding of Netanyahu put a priority on those hostages over destroying Hamas. The Israeli military privately telling the media they don't think that Hamas can be destroyed. They don't see an end game. Netanyahu under pressure, what does he do? He opens up another front in Lebanon. He reconciles with the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, who wants that war in Lebanon. So now Netanyahu is not at risk of being pushed aside. He, in fact, is in a stronger position, and he has time to defy everyone, the US, Europe, the United Nations, the international community, and just to continue this open ended war.